We continue with our Preaching the Big Questions series. We've got a number of questions now in there, and I've drawn one for today. But a very quick note on the first reading, that reading where we heard about the prophet Elijah and his interaction with an angel, and it is a reminder that when you are feeling spiritually stressed out, it is the angelic advice to take a nap and to have a snack. That is what the angel advises, and you can put that in your toolkit as blessed by God. Just take a nap, have a snack, and see if life gets better. Anyway, the question for today, here it is. In a world that produces ever-increasing distractions, how do we maintain a healthy balance with spiritual needs? In a world that produces ever-increasing distractions, how do we maintain a healthy balance with spiritual needs? I think we can agree that there are lots of distractions in this life, more than ever. Televisions, smartphones, social media, sporting events, advertising, the intrusion of obligations from our family and friends and coworkers. Not that those are burdensome, but they are distractions. The motivation that we have to spend time with people, helping them out, or just being friends with them, it is a distraction. The chores we have to do. We're surrounded by many things that take up our time, distractions. So yes, we do live in a world, as the question says, that provides ever-increasing distractions. So how do we maintain a healthy balance with our spiritual needs? I think that there are three things that factor into this. One is our will, one is time, and one is space. Big concepts. So the first thing about our will, you know what your will is. It's this internal desire that's inside you. It's not really an emotion so much, like you feel happy or you feel sad or you feel angry about things. Those are your emotions. Then you've got your thoughts, the things you think about. Well, I think about, whether the Packers are going to have a good season, and you evaluate why that might be or might not be. Or you think about the election coming up, or you think about your dishwasher and the problems that it's having, or you think about what plants you're going to plant over the winter when winter arrives and you get your seed catalogs. You think about stuff, and that's your thoughts. But then you also have this thing inside you called your will. And your will is kind of your heart's desire, what you want from the world, from your place in the world. And sometimes those things that you establish with your will, the intentions of your will, sometimes you work to bring them to pass. Sometimes that doesn't happen, but that is, the outcome is one thing, your willpower is another thing. So at one point in my life, my will was set on becoming a professional baseball player sometimes, or basketball, or a soccer player some other times. Of course, that never happened. I didn't really have the strong enough willpower to follow through on it. All these athletes, these amazing athletes in Paris right now, they're all gifted with physical gifts and capabilities that you and I are not. But they also have solid willpower. They all got where they are by, getting up at 4 in the morning and putting in 2 hours in the pool before going to school, or 2 hours on the track after they got home from school. I mean, dedication, commitment, willpower to do the difficult things day in and day out, to achieve what they desired with their wills. The same sorts of thing, willpower is one of the reasons why we take on Lenten discipline. We set things aside for Lent, not to punish ourselves, Lord knows life brings enough suffering. We don't invite suffering into our lives. The reason why we, set things aside while we fast from stuff during Lent is not to make us miserable. It's to train our wills. It's to train our wills, to make us more capable of following through with what we set our hearts on. Because we all know we have a problem with that. There's lots of stuff that I want, but I don't follow through on it. I let it drop. And I'm sure there are things you do as well, but I'm putting the mirror in front of me right now. Back when I was a smoker, the number of times that I committed to quitting smoking, man, I was an expert at it. Plenty of practice at quitting smoking. I did it all the time. But it wouldn't last. And I would go right back to it because my willpower was weak. Weaker than that damn addiction. Eventually I did conquer it and overcome it. But it took training. Willpower takes training. It's a power. It's a force. You can practice it. So the reason why will is so important when it comes to the foundation of our spiritual life is related to this question, this quote from someone named Ruth Burroughs, who was a Carmelite nun. Now, the Carmelites are a Roman Catholic order of nuns. They have priests as well, but she was a nun. She was English. She died last November at the age of 97 or something like that. Her name is Ruth Burroughs, and she has a book called The Essence of Prayer. And I have a long quote, and then I realized at the 8 o'clock service, you don't need the whole quote. What you need is this bit at the end. She's been saying that basically what we normally need, what we ask for when we're talking about the life of prayer, is we obsess about techniques. Teach me how to pray. Teach me how to use the prayer book. Teach me how to pray Lectio Divina. Teach me how to pray the Rosary. Teach me how to pray, this litany or that meditative prayer or whatever. We go looking for gurus. We go looking for masters, including, ironically, Ruth Burroughs, who wrote this book about it. But we go looking for people who can teach us how to pray, as though it's a skill. We think of prayer as like a skill, like playing a musical instrument. You go and find someone who's good at praying, they'll be able to teach you how to do it, and then you will be good at praying. Now, what she says in this quote, which actually, if I had just read the quote, it would have taken less time than that explanation. The problem is, she says, we don't want God. That's the problem. We don't want God. What we want is to be good at prayer. What we want is to be peaceful in our souls. Oh, I'm going to try praying because I'm stressed out and I want peace. And I hear that the Holy Spirit will give me peace if I ask for it. And what I want is peace. What I want is clarity. What I want is an ecstatic experience of the presence of God. What I want is an answer to my prayers. What I want is for my friend to be healed of whatever she's sick with. That's what I want. She says no. What we should want in our prayer is God and nothing else. Just to want God. God, I want you. Lord, all that I want right now is just you. And she said, we don't usually want that. We want stuff for us, but we don't want God. And God is sitting there saying, look, I'm waiting for you to want a relationship with me. And what we want is God to fulfill our needs. Fill my requisition, Lord, and then I can go about my day and leave you to doing your holy stuff. But God is saying, what I want is you to want me. I want a relationship. But we want, our laundry list of requests. So she said, the first thing you have to do, and this is what I'm saying to you, the first thing to do with your spiritual life is to want God. Get the intention of your will right. So whatever you do with your prayer practices, whatever you do with the answer to this question, how do we maintain a healthy balance with our spiritual needs, is somewhere in your heart, along the list of things that you want with your will, I want to do this, I want to be that, I want to lose 15 pounds, I want to get good at Italian, I want to go on vacation. On that list of wants that you have, one of your wants should be, I want God. I want God. I want to know God. I want God to be part of my life on God's terms, not on my agenda. I just want to know this God who has created me and who loves me. I'm told that God loves me. I want to know that love. So, establishing the basics of it all, the first thing is that there's part of your willpower, your wants from the universe, from your life, that should be something that you want regularly, intentionally. So if you do have a prayer practice or a prayer time, part of what you can do at the very beginning of it is to say, with this piece of time that I'm going to spend on prayer, I want you, God. Say that out loud. I want you, God. Great. I didn't actually mean do that right now. I meant, but great. It doesn't hurt, right? To want God on God's terms and to just be available. And to let that be, the practices, the techniques, the whatever you do to achieve that can come later. That's less important than this essential first step of what do you want from your spiritual life? Well, you want God. And let the rest of it go from there. Trusting that you've heard about this God who loves you, so you might as well trust that if you open yourself to a relationship with God, God's going to give you those things that you need. So you can trust that. So that's the first part, the orientation of your will. You maintain a healthy balance with your spiritual needs when part of your will includes just wanting God. That's the first bit, and really the most complicated bit of the answer to this. So then the second piece is time, and the third piece is space. And this will be less complicated than time and space sound. It sounds like some physics program where I'm going to be talking about the cosmos. No, I'm talking about like how you portion up your 24-hour day. St. Benedict talked about this in his rule. He wrote a rule, one of many, many rules, but he wrote it back in the 6th century, and he wrote it for, guidelines for a monastic community. You're going to run a monastery? Here's how you do it. Here's how you structure the admin of a monastic community. And it became a great hit. And all the other monastic communities for hundreds of years followed his rule, basically. And a big part of his rule, and he lays out how to pray and, who's going to be in charge of the kitchens and how you rotate in the waiters who are serving in the kitchens for meal times, and what you do when a guest shows up, and what you do when somebody causes trouble and gets up to no good, what you do for discipline, and who's going to lead it, and how you select a leader, all the sort of admin stuff that you need for any community. But a big part of what he does in his rule is to say, here's how you divide up your day and your year and your week so that you can have a balanced, what are we asking for? Maintaining a healthy balance. Here's how you can maintain a healthy balance, he says, where you've got some hours set aside for sleep because you need to rest. You got some hours set aside for prayer and worship, because as a monk, that's kind of your primary job. As a human, as a Christian, your primary job is worship. But then you've got some hours set aside for work, because stuff has to get done. You got to grow your own food in a monastery. Someone's got to go out and do that. And you've got some time set aside for study and for recreation, because you need those. You need to feed your mind as well as your body. You need some hours set aside for meal times. So a balanced life for Benedict looks mostly like a balanced partitioning of the hours of your day and of your week and of your year. And you know how much time you spend in your life trying to divide up the hours of your day properly. or of your year, or of your month? What do you do with your 2 weeks of vacation time? You've been given that gift by your employers. What are you going to do with that time? Where are you going to use it? You've got your jobs. Are you going to take on a second job because you need to pay some bills, but that'll take away some free time from your family and friends. It'll take away some sleep. So how do you make sure you get enough sleep? Time for your work, time for recreation, time for chores, time for yourself. And if you're a parent with new kids at home, all your time just goes right out the window. But we're constantly trying to figure out, what do I do with my 24 hours? It's the same 24 hours that anyone else has. Rich man, poor man, king, pauper. Everyone has the same 24 hours. What do you do with that to achieve balance? Well, it's mostly about, how do I balance my time? So in that, if you want to maintain a spiritual life, and it seems like part of it is that how much time am I going to set aside for my spiritual life in the mix of everything else? 24 hours of the day, what portion of your calendar is going to be colored? What color would you associate with the spiritual life? Green? What? Purple? Okay. Would you associate purple with the spiritual life? What color would you pick? Is your white? Okay. Color in your own calendars. How much time in your day is for prayer? 20 minutes? An hour? So think about that, because we have to be jealous with our time. Things will always encroach, especially those things that we think of as not that essential. We will push those out of the way from things that seem more essential. So we need to spend some time thinking about a healthy balance with our spiritual needs. Part of that is saying, what is a healthy amount of time just to dedicate to wanting God and not anything else, to setting aside the distractions and just praying? 20 minutes is a starting point. 10 minutes, if that's all you think you can have right now. Several hours, if that's your calling. But be jealous with that time. Block it out on your calendars and stick with it to as much as you can, because that is an important thing. The balance of our lives are mostly about the balance of our time. And then finally, simplest, the distractions of space. We are distracted by visual and auditory stuff mostly. We can be distracted by smells and stuff as well, but I'm distracted if there's a TV on nearby. If I'm talking to somebody at a restaurant and there's TVs all over the bar area, I get distracted by that. Flashing lights and moving pictures and noise. And the dings that come from my cell phone every couple of minutes as messages come in. So get away from those. If possible, set up a portion of your house, a room, or a corner of a room, or just one dedicated armchair that is your prayer space. And that's all you use it for, and you don't let the distractions come there. And maybe you've got some simple visual cues that this is for prayer. A cross, a candle, an icon of some saint, a Bible, all of those things, but don't clutter it. And just, that's where you go. Jesus says, when you pray, go into your closet, go into your private room and close the door. Close the door. Tell the people that you love and you care for, I need 20 minutes, just me and God. I'll be back. You can bother me later. I will attend to your needs. I will be there for you in 20 minutes. But for now, I'm going to be rude. Shut the door, and just me and God for a while. And your loved ones will understand, because they love you, and they know that your faith is important to you. I hope. If not, that's something we can talk about. Add a note, add a question about how you deal with loved ones who don't understand your faith. And I'll try and tackle that. So, yeah, those three things. Your will, want God, portion out a portion of your time, of your 24 hours, dedicate that to wanting God and being available for God, showing up in the lobby of God's waiting room and saying, Lord, I'm here for you. Do with me what you will, because I trust you. You created me and you love me. Here I am for you. I've set aside all the other distractions and just show me you. Bring me to you. And then let that be a distraction. If we live in a world that produces ever increasing distractions, set those aside. Put the phone on airplane mode and throw it in the trash, or at least put it away. Turn off the TV, turn down the radio, tell your friends and family and loved one that you'll be back soon. Close your door and just be with God. And that's how you develop and maintain that healthy balance with your spiritual needs. So that's my answer to that question. Next week, we take a break from preaching the big questions because we'll be hearing from the people who went on the New York mission trip. They will be here telling you how it went. And like last year, it was great last year. I look forward to hearing what they have to say about what they learned, what they discovered about themselves, about God, about New York City. So that's next week. And then we'll be back to preaching the big questions after that.